Today on Design, Build, and Fix, we're going to show you how I diagnose and fix the blower motor on my E450 Shuttle Bus. Actually, it's easier than you think. Let me show you how. And remember, if you like the content, click the subscribe button in the lower right hand corner of the screen. Alright, so let's show you how to get it done. Alright, as you can see, I have everything on. It's on mix, temperature's on hot, the fan's on low. Turn it to high, nothing. Doesn't work on any setting. Alright, so to figure out the problem with the blower, here's my diagnostic ideation on how I'm trying to figure this thing out. And so I know there's a couple of things that could go wrong. First, I'm going to check the fuses. There could be a fuse that controls the switch inside the bus. There also is a fuse that controls the fan itself. There also could be a relay that could be bad, and then ultimately a resistor next to the blower motor, or it could possibly just be the blower motor. So we're going to show you the diagnostic stuff that we're going to go through to get through this.
Before we dive too deeply into the diagnostics, let me tell you what I know about the symptoms and how the system works and what possibly could be wrong. As of course we already talked about this, if nothing works, it could be one of the four things: fuses, relay, resistor, or the blower motor itself. However, if your blower motor works just on high, that means your resistor is bad because the resistor is bypassed in high mode. So we're going to start with the fuses.
Alright, so the first thing you want to check is the fuses, and then possibly the relay. And so that's going to require your owner's manual. And so I grabbed my owner's manual, and it says blower motor. It says that it's a 50 amp fuse, and it's located at 32 position on the fuse box.
So after first looking at the owner's manual, I assumed that it only had a fuse, but I was wrong. You can see further down the list, number 40 or position 40, there's an ISO relay for the blower motor. So we're not only going to check the fuse, but also the relay, but we will start with the fuse first. I'm actually underneath the dashboard on the driver's side, and sometimes on the E350 and 450, and I know a lot of vehicles, they actually have a distribution panel underneath the dashboard, but this one doesn't have it, so we're going to look under the hood. Alright, so underneath the hood, the fuse box is actually going to be right here on the driver's side. There's a tab right there you have to get, and a tab over here. Just push those forward, showing us the fuses. Now 32 is actually that one right there, and that is our 50 amps. So what I'm going to do is pull this out. Now I've already pulled this one out and I've already checked it. I did actually realize that it was not blown, but in order to get that out I had to use a pair of needle nose pliers, and I actually broke the top off of it, so I had to replace it anyways. But that 50 amp fuse is actually good. That's going to be your blower motor in there. In order to get this thing out, you got to take the battery out. That's not too hard. We're also going to have to take some of this air conditioning stuff off and just make things loose so we can pull that motor out. And what I've done is I've actually disconnected the power to it right here. Alright, so I had to make a trip to the auto parts store to buy a new fuse, and so I decided when I was there, I also purchased the blower motor and a resistor at the same time, because by doing that, it's going to give me the ability to test a couple things out at the same time. So basically what I did is I disconnected the harness that you can see there in the back, and I plugged in the new blower motor, and then I turned on the fan, and I realized that by turning on the fan actually worked, but it only worked on high. So what that meant was the blower motor was bad, and the resistor is also bad because it only worked on high. And so what we're going to do now is replace the blower motor and show you how to replace the resistor. Alright, so the first thing you want to do in order to get that blower motor out is, of course, you got to take the battery out, take the negative and the positive off, and then behind the battery there's actually going to be a clip that holds the battery down to the battery plate. So you take that out, pull the battery out. It's a little snug in there, but it comes right out. Alright, so now we have to take the battery plate out. There's going to be 4 bolts that hold that down, and those are going to be 13mm bolts. Now we have to take the blower motor out, and there's 4 screws that screw into plastic. Those are 8mm bolts that are going to hold that in, and you just want to take those out. And one of the things that you want to be noticing is that there are tabs in the upper right hand corner, so to speak, of the blower motor. There's a tab there that actually aligns the blower motor to where it's supposed to be. And you're going to want to realign those when you put the new one back in. Now you want to remove the blower motor ventilation hose that goes from the motor down to the bottom of the housing, and that just slips off relatively easily. Now that the bolts are out that holds the blower motor in, you're going to take the bolts out that connect some of your air conditioning components, because right now they're semi-loose, but you really want to make sure they're really loose, because you're not going to get that blower motor out unless you take those bolts out. Now there's one on the top and one on the bottom. Now once you have those out, you have to kind of fiddle with it to get it to come out, but if you actually pull it back and down at an angle, you'll see that that blower motor does come out. Now the new blower motor that you're going to purchase does not come with a ventilation hose, and so you're going to have to remove it from the old blower motor and put it on the new one. Now there's a little groove in there that actually holds that tight, and don't worry about spinning it around correctly. You can spin it around later, but now you actually have to hold it to the blower motor, so actually slide it over the motor itself. Now the new blower motor is going to come with a gasket, and you're going to want to dry fit that on before you actually take that white piece off that exposes the adhesive. You definitely want to make those things line up with the holes that are on there. Once you have, you can take that plastic off and then actually attach it, making sure that the holes are actually in the right spot. It's now time to insert the blower motor into the opening, and you're definitely going to put it back in the same way, twist it down and at an angle, lift some of the air conditioning stuff out of the way, and it should slide in. Now once you get it in, you're going to have to rotate it around to actually get it attached to some of those tabs that are on there. I believe there's 3 or 4 of them on there. But as soon as you rotate it around, you'll feel there's the tab there. It'll slide right on, and you'll know that's fully attached. So now it's time to attach the 4 bolts to hold the blower motor to the housing, and the 2 bolts to hold the air conditioning units to the bus itself, and attach the housing, and it's installed. Alright, so now it's time to replace the resistor. There's going to be an 8mm bolt on the top and the bottom, comes out relatively easily. Then you're going to disconnect the clip. Now, one of the things you're going to want to do is to inspect the harness that connects to the resistor, because what's going to happen is if that resistor actually goes bad, it has a tendency to weld everything together, the plastic, the metal, and everything. So if you see any type of charring in there, you're probably going to save yourself 30 minutes by just cutting it right off, because as you'll soon see, it took me a long time. I had to completely destroy the resistor to get this thing off. It would have been easier just to go ahead and cut it off and splice it in later.
Alright, so getting that off was not easy. As you can see, that's what's left of the resistor. And if we come and zoom in down here, you can find that's history. So I'm probably going to have to splice it. Alright, so I went to the auto parts store this morning, grabbed a new clip. I'm going to have to splice these wires on one at a time. I'll take it off, splice it, and then we should be good to go. Alright, as you can see, I got everything connected together. I use the heat shrink butt connectors for them, and nice and watertight. I made sure that I did one at a time. I took the top one off, connected that one, the middle one, connected it, and then the left and the rights. And this is all set. All I'm going to do is put this back into the casing, put some electrical tape on it, connect my connector to the resistor, bolt it back in, and this thing should be done. Alright, so everything's back together. Put some conduit wire casing around the other wires to make it look a little bit nicer. Not that I'm going to see it again, but definitely put back together. Hopefully it works. Let's see. Alright, so now that everything's been installed, let's see how we did. Alright, put it on high. It goes. Yep. Alright, so the resistor works now. The fan works. We're all set and good to go. Alright, well thanks for watching another video. If you like the content, make sure you click the subscribe button so you don't miss out on the ultimate shuttle bus to van life toy hauler transformation.